Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Josh.
And this is NFGeeks. Josh, welcome back once again, as usual.
Yes.
I'm glad to see you. And I have a really special episode to do right now, and it's a technique for problem solving. Okay. Now, it has a name, but I call it the columns. Okay. And it's a way of breaking a problem that you have in life. Okay. And we're going to go through it. You're going to be the example. I'm going to take you through it. Okay. Now, it's really invented by a guy named Robert Keegan and a person named Lisa Leahy, and this is out of Harvard, so they invented this. And what he says is that when you have a problem and you're stuck, all problems are being stuck, right? You're stuck in a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you have two different value systems that are in conflict with each other, and they've created an equilibrium.
Okay.
And what you need to do is analyze it so that you can break the equilibrium and go one way or the other. Okay. Now, I'm a big believer in that. I've given a lot of advice. I've done this last week, as you know. You have to make a choice. When you're stuck, you have to choose something, and you have to flip it and make a choice.
Right.
And this is how you determine what choice is right for you.
Okay.
And it's not based on outcomes necessarily, and that's what I like about it. Okay. So I'm going to take you through it, and I recommend that everybody sort of do this. It does work. You have to do it the right way, but it absolutely works. So here we go. You ready? All right. The first thing I want you to do is write, because I want this in your handwriting, right from your point of view. I want you to write a problem that you have across there in one sentence. If you had to put it in one sentence, what would you say it is? And you can say it out loud as you write it.
Okay. I'm going to put, what should I do if I don't get into my desired, I'm spelling desired right?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. My desired university.
Sure. That's a good one, especially for your age. Okay. Now, I recommend, if you do this, to actually write it out. You don't have to do it on a whiteboard, but certainly do it on a piece of paper, fold the paper if you want, but don't just do it in your head. You have to look at it. So
visualization is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Consult secret video. Yes. Okay, so now I didn't write what these columns mean. We're going to go down columns, and so we're going to start here. So column 1 is a column about your values.
Okay.
So you have certain values in life, and that's why this is important. It could be I value education, I value growth, I value whatever. So there's certain values why this is a problem. So I want you to write them here. Try to do at least 3. It could be just one word. It doesn't have to be sentences. So if I say I value, what's the first word, the next word that comes to your mind? Or you value. I'd say it out loud.
I value a unique personal experience.
Okay, so personal experience, or unique if you want.
How about unique?
Okay. 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 Now, what else? Let's get at least 3 or 4 down.
Intellectual growth.
Okay.
I would say education.
So you value education. And give us one more. You can go as much as you want, but at least
I don't
one
know
more.
if this is a thing, but maybe becoming considered credible by my peers through the master's degrees I would attain. And
Okay,
whatnot.
you mean professional peers or just persons, friends?
Professional. I guess everyone you could lump.
Okay, credentials. Just put you want credentials because they're meaningful to you.
Right.
You put meaningfulness, or whatever next to that if they are. Okay. Now, that's the easy part. Now we get into the tough part here, number 2, because people don't want to admit number 2. But number 2 is real, and you have to just go with it that it's real.
Okay.
Okay, and don't argue.
All right.
All right. Number 2 are behaviors. So these were thoughts. These are actions. Don't explain why you have the action. These are actions. These are actions that you do to screw up the thing in column 1.
Okay.
So what do you do to screw up you having a unique experience? What do you do to screw up your intellectual growth? What do you do to screw up your education? What do you do to screw up your credentials? So these are behaviors you do that, maybe not screw up, but let me use the right word, undermines. So what behavior, what action do you take undermines this? So go ahead. And if you need help, I'll help.
I think this one would be
remember, actions.
Could I do a lack of action, like laziness?
Oh yeah, that's an action. Inaction is an action.
Because I would say laziness keeps me from having a unique personal experience.
Okay. What is undermining intellectual growth?
Maybe a lack of, I don't know, intellectual growth. Maybe prioritizing other things.
Okay, sure. Wrong priorities or different, I don't know if they're wrong, if you want to say it that way. But
wrong prioritization.
Right, prioritization. P-R-I. Yeah, no E. There we go. Another I. There we go. Prioritization. Close enough. Right. Okay. Now, how are you undermining your education? What behavior you're doing to undermine your education?
Probably, maybe to use a different word, but relative to laziness, procrastination.
Okay, sure. Whatever you think. You could, when you get good at this, you could put more than one underneath each one of these. But you don't have to. This is Josh's first time through, so we wouldn't do it basically. Okay. And again, you could have, this column could be huge. This is good. This will be good enough. Now, what are you doing to undermine you having credentials?
Might need a little help with this one because I'm not sure.
Okay, it could be you could be doing things that in front of your peers or in life make you look like you don't have credentials because you're a jackass and you do jackass things. You know what I mean? They don't. In other words, you could have behaviors and things that don't necessarily point towards you having credentials. So, for example, okay, this isn't my opinion, but in more conservative parts of the world, they would not be impressed by your earrings or tattoos,
right?
And they would give you crap about it. Okay. Now that's not necessarily what you put here, but that's what I'm talking about. What are some behaviors you do that have nothing to do with this that would screw up people thinking you have the credential? So for example, for me, even though I have a PhD, there are going to be people who are going to figure that my credentials are caca because they're going to watch NFGeeks. Okay? And they're going to say, oh, this guy's a PhD, he's a moron. So that would be one of my things here.
Maybe, yeah, some of the things I say sometimes if people don't agree with it.
Okay, bluntness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Your bluntness. Okay. Now, is this bluntness inappropriate, or what could we?
Well, I clearly don't think my bluntness is inappropriate.
Okay, but what kind of bluntness would screw that up?
Is there a professional term for assholishness?
Just bluntness, and if you just write asshole, that's good enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Asshole. That's fine. Well, there's various things. Okay, now we're going to get into back to the positive. Okay, now we're back to the positive. Okay. So for this one, what column 3 are the other set of values. So each behavior is actually coming out of something else you also value. It's not coming out of being a jackass. The behavior is jackass. Okay. But there's something else you also value that's important to you. Okay, and that's where these behaviors are coming from. Okay. So what value, and these could be good things, what value does laziness come out of? Well, what are you doing when you're being lazy? Think about it.
I'm either playing with my dog or maybe trying to catch up. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Playing with my dog, maybe catching up on some reading, maybe watching something on TV that I really like.
Okay, does that mean enjoying free time, living life?
I would say enjoying free time.
Okay, so enjoying free time. Okay. Okay. Now, wrong prioritizing. That means you're prioritizing something else.
Right.
What is the value in there?
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask me what am I prioritizing?
Yeah, it could be, but as long as it's connected to the value.
Women.
Okay, so women. So what does that mean? So, but it's not just like you're an NF. It's not just something awful. So what is the priority here? It could be relationship, love.
I would say so.
Right. Hey, I prioritize women, even though I'm perpetually alone. Doesn't mean it's not important. Okay, great. See, now that's a value. Relationships. That's an NF value, to be honest.
It's valid.
Yeah, it's 100% valid. What is the value behind your procrastination?
I don't think there is a value behind procrastination. But
Well, there could be a reason why you're holding back and doing something. Maybe it could be perfection. It could be you don't want to screw up. It could be something behind that.
I think sometimes it's just that I have like a lot of things that I want to get done, but I don't know which thing I want to go out and do, so I end up doing none of them.
Okay, so all right, but that's the value is you want to do everything you need to do. You want to be responsible. You want to do everything.
Okay.
It doesn't matter that the value creates a screw up. Okay. The question is, this is coming out of specific value. It doesn't matter that it's a mess.
So you would say it's responsibility?
Yeah, wanting to do everything right, or just wanting everything to be the right way. That's a value. We all have those. Now, lastly, what is the value of being blunt? That should
Honesty?
be easy. Yeah, there you go. Authenticity. Also, again, very NF. You liking this?
Yeah.
Great. And look, it's already coming together, right? It's
Right.
all this should be like, oh yeah, look, this is all in there.
Okay.
All right, so let's just review for a minute because now we're getting to the big part. So 1 is values as why this is a problem. 2 is behaviors that are undermining these values. 3 are the values that the behaviors are coming from, regardless of whether the behaviors are bad or not. These are still valid values. Now, column 4, maybe we should switch sides, or if you want to, maybe I'll move a little bit so you can get in there.
Okay.
Column 4 are assumptions. What assumptions are you making about the relationships within this chart? Now, this is your first time, so the easiest way is to go across. When you get really good at this, you can go in any direction you want, but let's make it simple. So what are the assumptions you're making about the relationship of these 3 things? Whether the assumption is true or not is irrelevant. Okay, it's just so it could be completely true. That's not the point. What assumption are you making about this relationship? And I could help if you have questions, but there's an easy one.
That I need to maybe work harder at using my free time to have a personal experience?
Well, right. Let's think. All right. So that's the solution.
Okay.
The assumption is that I cannot do these things at the same time, or that one will be sacrificed for the other, perhaps. Which one sounds better?
I think that I cannot do them at the same time.
Okay, that's what you put here. See? Talking to the audience. Breaking the fourth wall. I guess that's true of every video. I don't know what I'm... Now again, I want to specify, this isn't an NFGeeks thing. This is before I get a lawsuit. This is Robert Keegan and Lisa Lay. They use this in a book.
Don't sue.
Yeah, don't sue. But I love it, and most people don't get it. That's why I wanted to talk about it now. And I think it's good for NFs. Okay, this is a good one. What is the assumption, and some of us are probably similar, what is the assumption of these things? What are you assuming?
That I can't grow intellectually if I'm always out chasing relationships. So I can't dedicate my time to being in a relationship if I'm trying to grow intellectually.
Yeah, that somehow this thwarts this.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, write it down. I agree. I have that issue too. You know, but then I just said, screw it, I'm going to get my PhD.
Huh.
You know.
Okay.
Okay. Now, next, what is the relationship that you're assuming here? What are you assuming how these things work?
One of the things to be right, education, that I am maybe too much of a perfectionist.
Sure. I would say is that you can't get them all right. That you can't. That somehow, if you focus on your education, nothing will be right. You know what I mean? Or that
Like
or that you have to sacrifice something.
Maybe focusing on my education keeps me from getting other things in my life.
If you think
right?
that's true, if that's the assumption you're making, do you think that's the assumption? Does that feel right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because school takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know.
I like how I kind of change it up sometimes when I write it on the board.
Well, as long as it's the same idea.
Concept.
All right, and then lastly, what is the assumption here? This is very, I could see this. This is actually an ENFJ conundrum. When I saw this, I was like, oh, this is, ENFJs worry about this one a lot.
Because the answer to these are always really clear to me. I'm always like, bang, bang, bang.
Okay,
that
so what is...
I can't be myself if I want to be taken seriously.
Yes, and honestly, ENFJs worry about that. ENFPs not so much. Which has been obvious recently. But, you know. But this is a very ENFJ. That was probably the most ENFJ out of all of these. Every ENFJ I know really struggles. They want to be authentic, but at the same time, they want to be seen in a certain way because they're trying to be leaders, they're trying to do something.
Right.
You know. So that's true. Okay, now, here's the part that also people don't like, but it's actually worthy. If you notice, it doesn't give you the answer.
No.
What it does is that it sets up what the situation is so that you can ponder it and think about it. And not necessarily in this moment. Josh may not get to this. You may have to watch this video like 20 times over the next 3 weeks before you even get somewhere with it. Not necessarily, but...
I might anyway because I like to see myself.
That's right. It won't even matter what this is. You'll turn off the volume. All right, but here's what now the thing is, and obviously recently I've been doing this, so this should make sense. What has to happen is you have to break the tie. Because what's happening is that the assumption is keeping all of this locked in as equals.
Okay.
And so somehow the tie has to be broken. The tie isn't necessarily choosing one or the other. Breaking the tie could be breaking the assumption. Okay. So for example, one way to break the tie, here we'll pick this one. Okay. The one way to break the tie is to pick one that's most important. And assuming that if authenticity is important, I have to accept what this is going to mean when I get credentials. Okay, because I want to be authentic. Or because of this is important to me, I have to really curb this and somehow figure out how to be authentic without curbing this. Okay? And that breaks the tie. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you have to break it today. Okay, in this moment. But either column 1 and column 3 have to be broken, or you can just do it side to side about this. And that's how you do it. It's not going to give you an answer. Look, there's no answer. What it's done is that it's organized why the problem is stuck. Okay, and why it's I'll do it this way. Why it's balanced out, and this helps you kind of figure out where to tip it. Now, when you get really good at this, like I am, you don't have to do the chart. You can just do it in your head after you do it all the time. And I do that. I do it in my head. I think about what are my 4 values, and then I flip it. Now, the outcome isn't always going to be great, is the last part. You can think about this with this. And this has been recent, too. Another reason why we're stuck is because we want the good stuff of column 1 and column 3 without the consequences of column 1 and column 3. That's what we're trying to get. That's impossible. That'll never happen. What you have to do is pick the one that you want, accept the consequences of that one, and accept losing the good things of the other one, whatever that is. Okay. Now, do you have any thoughts about where you're going with this, or anything you'd like to end on with this regarding where you think you might flip? Or it doesn't have to be right now.
Can we maybe try a couple to see?
Sure.
I definitely can do this last one.
All right, let's see.
I would definitely value the authenticity over the credentials.
Okay. Now, is it possible to be authentic without screwing that up?
I think so.
But if you had to choose?
I would choose being authentic.
Okay. So what should I do if I don't get into the university? One would be to accept authenticity is more important than getting into that specific university. Okay. That doesn't mean there aren't other colleges.
Right.
And you may switch now after I just said that and be like, oh no, maybe this is, but that's okay. You don't have to, you could look at this like 100 times. Josh doesn't have to have the answer literally right now.
Right.
Okay. So if authenticity breaks this tie, then you have to think about what should I do if I don't get into desire, is to continue to be authentic. You could look at it that way. Okay.
Okay.
Relate it back. Any others you want to see about the flip?
I guess we could do this one.
Okay.
I would go with the experience over free time.
Okay. Is it possible that these things can exist at the same time?
No, because I think you would have to use up your time to experience life fully.
Okay.
So maybe keep busy, keep doing things
All right.
you want
So
to
the
experience.
flip here is, what should I do if I don't get into there? You should make this the priority and try to have unique personal experiences, okay? Regardless of whether you go.
Okay.
Okay. In other words, your unique personal experience should be the goal to try to get to the university, and if you don't, you want to do this. They keep on this goal. So in other words, you don't want to, what if I do when I don't get into the university? Oh, I'm just going to fuck around and, drink beer and play Xbox and, you know what I mean? Like, this is what I do. You want to make this the goal if that's what you're doing.
Okay.
Like that. So now keep in mind, each column, you could do it there where this column goes over this column, but really you can do it side to side, these two things. So you flip this one this way, you flip this one this way. So in other words, what should you do? You have to keep these two together. Now if you want to make it really complex, you don't have to do this. You would do, what are the assumptions between these two, if any? You know what I mean? Can I be authentic and have a unique personal experience at the same time? That's complex. You don't have to get that. Okay. And honestly, just having the two, that's enough. All right, anything else you'd want to say?
No, I think this is interesting. I think I'd like to use this for other situations I get into.
Yeah, and
Seems
in fact, you want to use it for the deeper ones. This is just an example that's relevant, but I mean the real difficult ones: relationship, love, sex, life, money, medical conditions, cancer. I mean, really, you want to do this for the hardcore stuff as well. Okay. So, any other thoughts?
No.
All right. Did you think it was useful?
Yeah, I like it.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Josh, and thank you for sharing and doing this, everybody. So go and try it out and see how it works.